Welcome to our first RHA Zoom meeting. I'm Pam Popovich, one of our co-presidents, and the other one, Amy Josephek, is with us on the Zoom meeting, but she is actually in San Francisco. We have an informative meeting tonight, including our guest speaker, Councilman Mike Griffiths. We have a representative from the County Registrar of Voters, Mr. Jeff Klein, and our city clerk, Rebecca Poirier, to discuss local voting locations. Since it's our first Zoom meeting and we've heard about some going off the rails by trying to accomplish too much, we're going to keep the focus on just the two most important issues facing us right now, and they are voting and local zoning control. I do need to mention the proposed Butcher Solana development, which we've been closely watching. There's nothing happening to report right now. Our community did an amazing job submitting responses to their draft EIR last year, and the builder has still not replied to the many strong objections that we raised. Another reason this project is on hold is that the developer is waiting to see what zoning and planning laws will come out of Sacramento this December. And Mike Griffiths is going to discuss these later on this evening. This is another important reason for you to go to our website and sign up for our email blasts. It is the only way that we can get important information to you in a timely manner. But we need you to go there yourself, and we promise that we never share your information with anyone or any company. This Zoom meeting is being run by our amazing webmaster, Julian Chasen. Julian posts our website and would like to quickly share with you the information that you can find there online at any time. Julian?
Right, thank you, Pam. Appreciate your introduction, and I just want to let people know they can go to the typically the upper right corner of your Zoom screen, look at view, and then change to speaker view. It might make it easier. At this point, you should be able to see the Hollywood Riviera website. That may get an okay from Pam on that?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, very good. So this is our website, hollywoodriviera.org, which may have been your starting point tonight to get to the Zoom information for the meeting. So when you access the site, the first thing you'd see today at the top of the site is the announcement about the meeting. If you scroll down, the next thing you see is information about the November 3rd election. You should be able to see that now. So we have quite a bit of information here. For example, you can get a map showing the voting locations. I can just zoom in here to where we are. And this map shows which voting locations are open early, 11 days early, and 5 days early. So that happens to be the same map that the LA County Registrar of Voters has mailed to your home. You can also see endorsements for the November election from the LA Times, the Daily Breeze, and we have information as well that's pretty late breaking on airport noise, cancellation of the airport noise abatement program, and we might talk about that later. And further down, we have information about the Torrance School Board candidate forums that took place recently. Now, if you go back, if you're on the website and you go back to the top of the page, you'll see that there's a place for membership information. You have a membership form that you can fill out, send in with your check once a year. You can also pay 1-year membership or 2-year membership with PayPal. It's very easy to do if you have a PayPal account. We do need your donations to keep going. Thank you very much. So that's part of what's on the website. We have more. You can browse through the menus and see what there is. There's quite a bit of history and and phone information on there. So for the meeting, we've muted everybody except the presenters. You can use the chat function that's in Zoom to ask any questions during the course of the meeting.
Julian, can I interrupt 1 second and ask you to describe for people who want to get our blasts? The only way to do it is to go to fill in your information about the email subscription. Can you just show people quickly where that is?
Very good. I can. It's if you go to the upper right corner, you might see something like this. It says enter your email address to subscribe to the RHA blog. That'll get you, anytime we update the website, that means you'll get an email with that content. You just put in your email address, hit sign me up, and we promise not to overload your inbox with more than occasional emails like that.
But it's the only way we can reach you guys. So please, 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 please subscribe to this so we can reach you. There's a lot of information.
Thank you, Amy. That's all true. I'd like to thank our board member, Steve Gerhardt, who will be assisting with any questions tonight or help that's needed. So thank you, Steve. Pam, back to you.
All right, thank you for all you do, Julian. You've built a great website, and thank you for helping us Zoom tonight. Wait, just a minute. I'm ready, I'm continuing. Although we haven't been able to have live meetings last spring or this fall, the RHA board has been busy. We've been following bills in Sacramento, contacting legislators, and participating in Torrance City Council meetings. To support the work we do, we ask you to please take the postcard we hope you received, fill out the membership application, and send it in. Your membership donation helps us pay for postage, use of school facilities, and other organizational expenses, and especially scholarships for deserving local high school graduates. And speaking of which, here are messages from Annette Sorensen and Aubrey Long, our scholarship winners for spring 2019. Julian? The videos, please.
Okay, we'll get that going in just a minute.
Hi there, my name is Annette Sorensen, and
Okay, so we'll get that going in just a minute. Less than a minute.
He's got to thread the projector.
Exactly. How's that?
There, she opened her eyes.
Annette Sorensen, and I'm the current on-campus majoring in business.
We can't hear her.
And also a member of the University Honors Program. So far classes have been pretty good. My honors classes are super fun, insightful. Hi there.
Julian, can you start that over? We don't have volume for her.
That's what we're gonna do.
You know, when you go to share, there's a button that says share computer sound, and the sound is typically better when you do that.
Here we go.
My name is Annette Sorensen, and I'm a current on-campus student at Cal State Fullerton, majoring in business, concentrating in legal studies, and also a member of the University Honors Program. So far classes have been pretty good. My honors classes are super fun, insightful, while I'm also trying to navigate business calculus, biology, and music. And I made a lot of great friends on campus and a lot of really, really great opportunities here as well. And so during school, I would love to get my associate's degree in psychology at a community college. And then afterwards, I would love to get a certificate and become a paralegal, because I want to use my degree pretty much immediately once I get out of college. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for the scholarship money. It's been paying for my housing, paying for food, and just everything. And I hope all of you guys are safe and well. Thank you and goodbye.
That's it. Yes, Julian?
Well, we have another scholarship winner.
Oh, okay.
Sent us a video. And
Hello, my name is Aubrey Long. I'm currently a freshman at San Diego State University. I'm majoring in child development, but I'm looking to switch into nursing because I want to be a pediatric nurse in the near future.
Hey, wow. All right. Thank you, Pam, and congratulations to the scholarship winners. My name is Judy Bernetti. I'm the former RHA president. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce our guest speaker, Mike Griffiths, who, in addition to serving as a Torrance City Council member, has spearheaded a volunteer organization called California Cities for Local Control. Their goal is to protect local control of zoning and planning. And our state legislature has been trying to quietly pass bills to give the state of California control over every city's planning and housing. By doing this, they hope to increase development and density with no way for cities to prevent it, which is pretty scary. So Mike and his group are working hard on this critical issue, and several members of our board are on that board, his organization as well. So Councilman Mike Griffiths, please talk to us tonight.
Thank you, Judy.
Welcome.
Thank you, Julian. Thank you, Pam. I hope everybody can hear me okay.
Oh, yes.
Good. It's a pleasure to be here with the Riviera Homeowners Association Board, and thank you all for taking the time out to listen to me and all the other good stuff that the association puts together for you. You guys do a great job all the time.
Thank you.
It's nice to see everybody in little windows, but I sure wish I could see you back in person. Hope everyone is doing okay in our challenging times. One nice thing I've noticed is that I don't need to wear suits as much anymore, and most of my laundry is shirts. Pants don't seem very important these days.
Too much information, Mike.
Too much information. All right.
Yeah, Mike.
Continue.
All right. Sorry about that. I had to say it though. Anyway, you guys have asked me to speak on a topic that a lot of people in the public aren't really aware of, but which will have a great impact on our city and our neighborhoods. So let me describe the situation, and I'll give you plenty of time at the end for questions.
Oops, okay.
Yeah, I want to get through my whole
You wanna go
primary
through the
topic,
speech?
and then we'll take questions primarily at the end, but I'll leave plenty of time for questions, so don't worry
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
So give me a moment to help you visualize what's happening, and I'm not going to go into a great deal and bore you with every little bill and bill number that's out there, but I want to just visualize what I'm trying to tell you. As most of you attending tonight, you're likely homeowners like myself, and you worked hard or were lucky and made a very conscious decision on where you chose to buy your home. You took into consideration issues like crime, schools, views, and nice quiet neighborhoods. In many cases, you made big sacrifices financially to decide where you do, because the quality of life is really what you wanted. Now, this is the bad part. Imagine this. All of a sudden, your neighbor decides to sell their house, and it sells amazingly quickly. Next thing you find out, without being notified, is that the new owner is tearing down the existing single-family home and is building 2 duplexes or 4 units on that lot with little to no parking for the new residents and no consideration being made of the view that you had that is now about to be blocked.
Yep.
Imagine how upset you would be. And your instincts would tell you to run down to City Hall or call me or any one of your other council members to complain. And the sad response you'll get is that there's nothing we can do to help you. This is all potentially legal, and there's nothing that the city can do about it. Anybody in this group be upset in that situation?
Oh, yes.
I know I would be, and that's why I'm taking a stand on the way I am, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So everybody, hold on tight. We were seconds away from such a reality happening in California.
Yeah.
Specifically, California Senate Bill SB 1120 had enough votes of our state legislators to pass, but only failed due to the clock running out on the legislative session that just ended last month. In fact, this bill would completely eliminate the definition of what we all know as R1 zoning. No more protection for single-family home neighborhoods. And that's not just in Torrance, that's all throughout every city in California. And I can guarantee you that this and or similar bills will be coming back and having a high likelihood of passing in the next legislative session, which begins just in a few months, in the beginning of December. That is, unless everyone who cares gets upset like I am and takes some effort to fight this. There are many similar bills that are coming out of the Senate and Assembly in Sacramento that are under the pretenses to do one or more of the following: help solve the housing shortage, help solve the housing affordability, and even to solve homelessness as reasons to justify getting these bills passed. In fact, California normally is not allowed to tell cities what to do with their land use, and especially for charter cities, including Torrance, because we are theoretically protected by the state constitution. However, there is a single exception in the Constitution, and that says, and if the bill includes this wording, then our protection is lost. And the wording is, this bill addresses a matter of statewide concern rather than a municipal affair, and therefore applies to all cities, including charter cities. That sentence in a bill basically gives them the right to disregard the California state constitution and the protection of charter cities, especially for the ability to protect their own zoning and managing their own land. So who decides what defines this matter of statewide concern? Good question, and I haven't yet got that answered. Is this sentence enough of a reason to break the spirit of the state constitution? I certainly don't think so. These types of bills, which take away our local authority over our own land use, is what we call bills which attack our local control. And oftentimes these bills don't take into consideration issues like our infrastructure, utilities, water, electricity, sewer, street parking, and not to mention public safety for having enough police and fire protection. Also schools. Now, obviously, we get paid from the state for each head in our classrooms, but nonetheless, our schools weren't designed for the density that some of these bills potentially would allow.
Yes.
So these are things that we call unfunded mandates. The state forces us to create higher density neighborhoods, but doesn't give us any money to cover these costs that are not being funded to help us reinforce and rebuild the infrastructure to allow this density that our cities were never designed to accommodate. So is everybody still with me?
Yep.
Hope nobody's getting sick. We handed out barf bags at the beginning of the meeting.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, well, this is something to get really upset about, and it made me sick. So what really made me notice what was starting to happen, me personally, I'm talking about now, to happen, and it's happening pretty silently, is that in January of this year, we, the city council, we were forced to modify our housing ordinance to allow for a new ADU law to be, and allowing ADUs to be built in our city. And that was as a result of Assembly Bill 68.
Can you explain what ADU is, please, Mike?
I will. So we were forced to modify our housing ordinance to allow for these ADUs to be built and in any residence in our city. An ADU is what is called an accessory dwelling unit. And it can be as simple as converting a garage to a living space, which, by the way, used to be illegal in Torrance. Technically, you could not convert a garage to a living space, but not anymore. As of January, our law had to change because of the state law, AB 68, that allows these ADUs to be built on any residence in our city and statewide. Also, the additional of an additional room or an attached, also a detached, like a granny flat, are now legal too and are classified as ADUs. And they were not allowed before, or they were, if they were bound by city enacted restrictions which we could control. This is even the sadder part for this particular homeowners association. In fact, our hillside overlay ordinances no longer can provide the protections that we as a city and you as a neighborhood worked hard to implement.
Yeah.
Everybody still with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you really want those barf bags. I don't pretend to be an expert on each and every one of these bills that have come down from Sacramento in the past couple of years, but there is a clear attack on our cities and every city's ability to manage our own land use and zoning. You may hear about these you probably did hear about an unsuccessful bill recently called SB 50. It did get a lot of attention last year, which, similar to SB 1120, would have eliminated what we know as R1 zoning and allowed, under many circumstances, the building of multiple units on what were formerly R1 zone properties without the ability of the city to manage it or restrict it or deny it.
Wow.
There are, in fact, now many of these types of bills coming out in Sacramento. We had a flurry of them this year. And then this is when it really hit me. In July, we started talking about this stuff more internally at City Hall, and especially in regards to the SB 1120, that bill and many others like it. And I asked our council to concur with me to have our council make a strong statement against these kind of bills. And in fact, we unanimously passed a resolution on July 21st that took a strong position opposing these bills and stating our strong objection to these attacks on our local control. But what I realized, and I think Sacramento knows, is that our city's individual opposition is not enough to stop these bills.
Mm-hmm.
So I've decided, and with the help of a lot of people, to take matters into my own hands. And at that same council meeting on July 21st, I volunteered to start an effort to try to work and unite with other cities to defeat these types of bills. With the help of many passionate residents and other city council members from around the area, I formed a group called California Citizens for Local Control. Our initial mission is to unite other elected officials from cities around the state in an effort to present a unified position against these types of bills. We are reaching out to every mayor and every city council member of every city in California to enlist their support to help us fight these bills. I hope you understand what a monstrous job that is. 2,500 elected officials in the state of California representing our cities. I'm very proud to report in just 2 short months and the hard work of our dedicated volunteers, many of which are on this Zoom meeting, we have received the support of over 130 mayors and council members from cities in California that feel the same way as I do and you do. And we've also had 18 cities have passed resolutions in support of our mission, similar to what Torrance did on July 22nd, to help protect local control. And there are another 20 cities that have shared with us their desire to want to move a resolution forward in support of our mission as well. But there's still a tremendous amount of work to do. So you can see what we're doing in our group on our Facebook page. That's our current only public access. And if you just search on Facebook for Cities for Local Control, you will find our Facebook page, and you can start to see some of the things that we're doing and the resolutions that we've gotten passed. And we'll be posting more and more information there to help you see our progress. It's a slow effort because there's so much work to be done. Being a council member myself, we get inundated with emails and requests for all types of different things. And so it's rare for me to respond to something unless it really jumps out and speaks to me. So I can understand that our efforts to reach out to all these elected officials is falling on predominantly deaf ears, not because they don't support us, but because they're overwhelmed with wildfires, with COVID-19 issues, a million other things. So considering all those obstacles that we're facing in our efforts to get as many people responding as we have already, I'm really, really proud and impressed with our group's efforts. And this is just a start. We need the public, you guys, to also speak out strongly and share with your friends and neighbors about what's happening in Sacramento. And when you go to vote for your local assemblymen and senators here in California, you make sure to ask them, do they support local control, or are they okay with the state taking over our city's ability to manage our land? Please get involved. If you want to help our group, California Cities for Local Control, please call me or email me. Your homeowners association knows how to reach me, and I'm happy to talk with you. I'm sure that they're going to publish some more information about our group and what we're doing in your association newsletter, and everything that you can do to fight them. Right now, we're in a lull. We're between legislative sessions in Sacramento, so there are no bills on the table. All the bills have gone away. Either they got passed and signed, or as in the case of SB 1120, it got passed, but it just missed the deadline for getting processed. So we know that these bills are going to come back, the ones that didn't already pass, and our cities will be attacked, and our neighborhoods are in jeopardy. So we need your help. I hope that I may have lit a little bit of a fire under some of you tonight. I hope that you'll get involved. Like I said, if you want to help with our group, let Judy, Julian, Pam, all of them know, and they can get you in touch with me. We need to all work together, not just Torrance, but every city in California, to help prevent this from happening to our communities. But we don't have long. The real reason that this is happening, it's not because of homelessness, it's not because of the housing crisis, and it's not because of affordable housing. It's because developers are pouring tons of money at the Sacramento politicians, because they see, the developers see big dollars with all the development projects that these bills will create statewide. In fact, I predict if any of these types of bills pass, those homes that are owned by individuals next to you may soon be owned by developers who want to then rebuild their multi-unit projects on your neighborhood block. These developers are circling like hawks. Our city in 2 years has already received almost 200 applications for permits to build ADUs, and the city cannot do anything to oppose them as long as they meet safety requirements. As we've had to modify our ordinance to allow these with minimal review. Please pay attention to this. To me, and I think to most people who understand what's happening, this is probably one of the biggest threats to our communities as we know them. Yet, I believe, unfortunately, most people are not aware of what is happening yet. Until someone builds an ADU next door to you that blocks your view or crowds your street with more cars, or if some of these expected bills coming up at the end of this year start allowing 4 or more units on a previously R1 zone lot, I don't think too many people are going to say anything. But once it starts happening, it will be too late. And so that's why I and your homeowners association, and I know most of the homeowners association in Torrance, are really concerned about this. And we need all of you to be concerned about it as well. The ADUs are happening now. What's next? Still undetermined, but I guarantee you, based on what we saw this year in Sacramento, there will be laws coming down to affect your neighborhood in a negative way. I'm hopeful that we can stop these bills and get Sacramento to wake up to what these bills really do to our neighborhoods, and maybe even to get some of those already passed rolled back. It's a lot of work and it won't be easy. Thank you for letting me share this information with you. I hope it doesn't come across as all bad news, but with everybody's effort, I hope we can make a difference and stop some of this from happening. And now I will be very happy to open it up for any questions.
Mike, hi, this is Kurt Antonias. I've got a question on SB 1120.
Okay.
If that had passed, are you saying that we live on Via Pascual? Are you saying that someone could tear down a house they purchase and build a duplex and have a 2-story duplex and completely wipe out my view? Are they not covered by the view overlay restrictions?
Nope.
Nope, you will be completely out of luck, and that's exactly what can happen. And that's why you guys should be terrified.
Yeah, we already are the victim of a ADU being built across the street. And
Yep.
we
And-
bought it, and the city planning commission came out and said, well, it doesn't mess your view up too much. And they made them lower their roof 6 inches, and that was it.
Yep, there's really not much we can do, and I know that it's upsetting to you, and I know this is going to happen over and over and over again, that people like you, when this happens to them and they're not informed, will run right to us and say, how did you allow this to happen? How does the planning commission approve this? It doesn't even need planning commission approval.
Yeah.
Can I just butt in and say, it's not 2 houses that will be able to be built on your property. It will be at least 4 houses that will be able to be built on your property. They are calling this, they came up with a lovely euphemism for it, and they called it the duplex law. Well, a duplex sounds like such a nice thing to have on your property, but when you allow duplexes, each unit is allowed to have an ADU, plus there are junior ADUs. The reality is, I think you could end up with somewhere between 4 and 8 units on what is now the same size space as your private home. And it doesn't matter how large the property is. It doesn't have to be more than 5,000 or more than 8,000 square feet. The parcel size doesn't matter. You're going to have a lot of different properties all of a sudden erected next to you, across the street, next to you on the other side, and behind you.
Yeah, there's a lot of technicalities in the bill, and I'm not sure what the new bill will look like, but Amy's correct. And it's even a little worse than that, because that single family R1 zone lot you had next to you or in front of your house or wherever, actually they could split that lot into 2 lots without any approval and no provision for parking for that residence.
That's right.
The residents will have to free for all park on the streets, and nothing you can say or do about it.
Right.
It's truly frightening.
Unfriggin' believable.
Yeah.
Well, thank your Sacramento politicians, and this is a nonpartisan issue. I know people on both sides of the fence who are as upset about this as I am, and we have in our group, the California Cities for Local Control, we have people on both parties who are upset and pissed off about what's going on. And it is a nonpartisan issue, and that's a good thing, because anything that is a partisan issue obviously becomes just a nightmare to try to manage. But the fact that all the legislators live in our communities too, they don't want to see this either. And it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you live in a neighborhood, and you don't want this kind of stuff happening in the neighborhood you've invested in, unless somehow your livelihood is affected by developers. And many state politicians are heavily funded by developers, and that's, people follow the money. You've heard that before, follow the money.
Mike, we have a question
Mike-
in the chat window regarding eminent domain, if you'd like to take a look at
yeah.
that question.
Let me take a peek at that, and I'll read that out here so everybody can hear it.
I
Okay,
can,
so I'll read
I
it.
can ask that question.
Okay, go ahead.
It just, normally, we give governments the right of eminent domain to seize private property, but our rules are such that the property owners have to be fairly compensated. And I'm wondering, is there a legal cause of action on the basis of the cities or other people whose property is being deprecated by the state move to say, if you at the state level are going to end up destroying the value of our neighborhoods and city, then you have to compensate just the way you did for eminent domain?
Yeah, I have not heard any provisions to protect any homeowner in that fashion. I'm certainly not an attorney, and I would highly recommend maybe emailing a question to me, and I'll forward it to our city attorney to see if they can answer. But I don't believe that you'll be protected in that way. And there's 2 issues that are also going to happen in all of this. Is if this bill passes, I think housing prices actually will ironically go up,
Exactly.
Because developers will be bidding for these houses, not people who want to live there. And they're going to make a ton of money by developing that single family home into 4 or more units. And they're going to walk away and leave the neighborhood destroyed, and they're going to make a ton of money. And there's nothing that you as a neighbors can do about it. And it's nothing the city can do. And so ironically, yet the state says we're trying to, fix the affordable housing problem. So that's a big, big problem that I'm really concerned about. And the other thing is they want to allow, by doing this, supposedly that will allow a lower cost to entry to live in a really nice neighborhood. And as I said at the beginning of my speech, I said, we all worked hard to live where we are and choose the nice neighborhoods that we live in. And now to build a 4 or 6 unit place, obviously the rent and or the mortgage price of that property might be less per square foot than what it would be as a single family home. So yes, it does kind of lower the overall individual unit property values. So it's a really difficult situation. Obviously, I'm assuming a few things, but it kind of makes sense if you look at it. So I hope I answered your question, but if you'd like to send me an email and I'll have our city attorney give you a better answer.
I can do that. And
Mike absolutely said the right thing. Not going to reduce. No one's going to lose money by selling their property to a developer, because the developers have already been. I have a friend who's been looking for a house for 3 or 4 years now in the Riviera. And every time he gets in, he is outbid by a developer because they're speculating. They knew this was coming and they're speculating. They're the ones that are helping to write this legislation. They want to be able to do more building. And the problem is, because they're going to be bidding up the prices, it's not like if they're building 4 or 6 units on your property, it's not like all of a sudden they're going to say, oh, you know what? I think we can afford to sell this one for only $500,000. So when Gail Taylor is saying, what about young people who don't want to leave something? You tell them, it's not like all of a sudden you're going to have these lovely, charming, generous, considerate, concerned developers say, this is for the kids. We really want them to be able to stay here. They are going to get as absolutely much as they can. And if it means that the price of each unit, instead of being, say, 1.6 million, is going to be 1.4 million, I'm not sure that any of your kids are going to all of a sudden go, oh, thank God, now we can stay. So you're not going to lose money on your property, but you're sure not going to live in the same community you bought into. And I'm pretty much guaranteeing that your kids are not all of a sudden going to be able to afford to move next door. So I think that's a fair assessment without a lot of, there is fear, but I don't think we're exaggerating, because I don't think we need to, because that's really what it is.
And Mike, could you say something about Butcher Solana too in all of this?
I will talk about Butcher Salon. I want to make sure I cover the questions that are related to what we talked about in relating to these zoning concerns. And then I will pivot over to Butcher Solana in just a moment after the rest of the questions are answered on that. And then after that, unless you want me to wait until the end of the meeting or whatever, I'm more than happy to take any general questions about what's going on in the city. But is anybody else? Yeah, any other questions about these state bills that are coming down?
So Ralph, what is the solution to the housing costs and issues?
Say that again?
Ralph is asking, what is the solution to the housing costs and these issues?
Well, yeah, that is a good question. And this is something that I've been saying for a long time, is when I talk to my state legislators, Ben Allen and Al Marsucci, I tell them, I understand that there is a housing concern. And rather than force cities to do these draconian measures to increase the amount of units available, why not incentivize those cities who are interested in building more units for them to do it? And that will achieve the ultimate desired result, in my opinion. It just may not be here in the Hollywood Riviera, but let cities make the decision whether they want to build housing or not by incentivizing them, as opposed to taking all control away from them and putting a one-size-fits-all blanket over every city in California. Does that answer your question?
One of the things, if I can say, that one of the bills that did not make it, I believe, ironically, was one that most people I know are pretty supportive of. And that was one that talked about taking now deserted strip malls and shopping areas. And we know that there are, sadly, because of, it's not just because of the pandemic, this was happening over the past couple of years. Sears isn't just going out of business because of COVID-19. The malls are not being emptied out just because of COVID-19. COVID-19 is putting a nail in the coffin, so to speak, sorry for the pun. But the reality is that the malls have been, and brick and mortar retail has been on the downside and on a slide for many years at this point. So meanwhile, there are all these buildings and huge amounts of land that are actually sitting rather empty. And one of the solutions that to me and to many of my friends involved in this makes a lot of sense is to take those places and convert them into housing. We've seen literally photos over the years of malls where there's grass and trees growing in the middle of them because they were deserted so long ago. Those can become really fabulous housing areas. There's parking for all of them, as opposed to trying to cram it on our one-way streets, one-lane streets. And so for some reason, that bill did not get passed. Even the concept of it, it still should not be telling the cities that Sacramento is the one that makes the laws, but there is property available. There are places available, but Sacramento is not getting the message. And as Mike said, giving carrots, not punishments, not sticks, is the way to do it. They are not going about this the right way, and they are looking. And also, I just want to mention one other thing. Somebody else just mentioned something about certain areas like the Bay Area. Janice just mentioned that the Bay Area is experiencing a reduction in population. Are there metrics showing that the California population is not growing at the rate that's being used as a reason for doing this? Absolutely, there are these facts. And as a matter of fact, about 4 or so years ago, Governor Newsom and the state hired McKinsey company who put together some research that showed that California was in need of 3.5 million housing units in the coming years. Well, we now are looking at articles that show that there's something called RHNA numbers, and it's regional housing numbers that are assigned to every section of California. And those are the numbers. I think ours are going to be something like 5,000 Torrance alone as a city is required to do in the next coming years. Well, there's now this expose that those numbers were absolutely double counted. The idea is that that 3.5 million figure is completely off base. And there are those people who say at the most, it's something like 1.2 million. So yes, Janice, you're absolutely right. Those facts and figures are being debunked constantly. And in fact, even Governor Newsom is backing off of belief of that 3.5 number. And so that's part of the whole thing that we're using in trying to fight. But there's unfortunately somebody named Senator Scott Wiener, who happens to be a representative of the city of San Francisco. He is a bulldog with this. He believes he is doing the right thing for the state. The problem, as far as I see it, is maybe, just maybe, if he had cured the problem of housing in his own city of San Francisco, I would be willing to listen to him and say, you know what, you did such a great job of fixing housing, and everyone who needs a place in San Francisco has a place, and everyone can afford to live there that grew up there. I would maybe be a little bit willing to let Senator Scott Wiener make decisions that affect areas that have nothing to do with San Francisco or are very much like San Francisco, whether it is the Inland Empire or the beach cities or whatever. San Francisco has not fixed their problem. And listening to Senator Scott Wiener being able to run roughshod over the rest of us is not a very appealing idea. So you may want to funnel some money to Jackie Fielder, who's running against him. Just saying, not getting political. But anyway, Senator Scott Wiener is very, very, very powerful in the Senate right now. And he is literally the one who is calling all the shots on these bills. And he has Governor Newsom's ears.
Amy, can we let Mike say? I mean, we're all concerned about this now. We all know that it's a big problem. What is the solution, Mike? What can we do besides pay attention to this and contact?
Yeah, thanks, Judy. As I mentioned, and thank you, Amy. You explained a lot of good stuff there. as far as, what we can do, as I already said that earlier, is you need to be aware of what's going on. You need to watch what's going on. You need to listen to your homeowners association, who will be sharing this information with you as it's happening. Excuse me. And you need to take action and reach out to your local elected officials in Sacramento, in our case, Almar Sushi and Ben Allen. So that's what you can do right now. If anybody has got a lot of free time on their hands and has no problem calling elected officials, I'd love to have some additional help with my organization that we're trying to reach out to
Yeah, we need some
2,500
help.
elected officials. So that's
Yeah,
something you can do to help.
Yeah, we need some
But I
help.
want to touch on something that Amy mentioned, and that's the RHA numbers that every city is allocated. Basically, it's a housing unit target that every city is given by these groups throughout the state, called these Association of Governments. In our case, it's SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments. And they go through these formulas and this is what Amy was talking about, is these formulas we think are very flawed in how they calculate the housing need and ability to create new housing city by city. So our previous RHNA allocation was, for the last 6 years, I think over 6 years, our allocation was around just over 1,000 units that we were supposed to build in order to meet our RHNA allocation. We did not hit our number, and we never have. And that's okay. We never had any penalty for not meeting it. And as everyone knows here who lives here, our city's pretty well built out. There's just not room to build a lot more units. And our infrastructure is not developed to support a lot more units. But unfortunately, the new RHNA allocations that just came out, and I hope everyone will come and listen to our meeting, our city council meeting this coming Tuesday. We will be discussing the RHNA numbers and our city's appeal of our numbers. We have been assigned a number over 5,000 units that the state expects us to build in our city.
Mike, are there any parts of Torrance, say in and around Del Alma Mall, that are being looked at by the city for residential development?
Well, the city is not the one who does any development. The city will listen to proposals from developers, and based on the zoning and so forth, we will, work with somebody or tell them to go take a hike. If the zoning allows it, then yeah, we will look at it. But some of these bills that are coming from Sacramento will force us to change our zoning to allow these uses that we as a city previously did not allow. And so, yes, the whole 16 acres at the south end of the mall, which is what Sears owns or owned, is now up for grabs. It's not owned by the Simon Companies who owns the mall. It's private ownership. And it's my understanding that they're out to bid for the highest bidder for someone to take over that property. Don't know who's going to get it, whether Simon is going to actually try to pursue it, or residential or some other type of developer will want to try to get it. But yeah, I've certainly heard the talk that people are interested in potentially building high density housing at the south end of the mall where Sears is. So that's a possibility.
Great.
But it's not gonna even if we built 500 units there, it doesn't get us even 10% of what our RHNA number is. So where do we put the other 90% of our RHNA units? And so what Amy was talking about is these RHNA allocations we think are seriously flawed, and they don't even take into consideration the whole new effect of what COVID-19 has done to the whole world, and that is no longer is it required that you commute to work. So part of these RHNA allocations were put on us and high numbers like they are for Torrance because we have a large job base. And because we have a large job base, they want people not to commute. So they wanted us to build more housing so people could live locally to where they work. That was the whole kind of concept of why they assigned high numbers to people that have lots of jobs in their areas. Well, COVID-19 throws that whole equation out, and it has not even been taken into consideration in these numbers. So we're appealing our RHNA number. You'll hear the discussion on it in Tuesday's council meeting if you're interested, and we would love to hear your input. It's important because we are going to appeal our number, but unfortunately, like a lot of these bills coming out of Sacramento, we are concerned that our objection and our appeal of these numbers are going to fall on deaf ears.
Wow. Okay.
The last call for questions
Yeah.
for Mike on this
Okay.
subject.
Yep, I know we got a lot of other things you guys got to talk about. So let me real quickly touch on the Butcher Solana project. I spoke yesterday with Danny Santana, our community development director, and he confirmed what was said earlier in the meeting, that the project is on hold by the developer. And that means that all the 700 plus issues that were raised on the draft DIR are not being addressed. And it will be a big process for them to restart the project. They will have to come back to council for an extension of the contract to continue the draft DIR work, and then a EIR. So it'll be a monumental task still for them to move forward. Not to say that they won't, but I think you guys did a fabulous job of making your voices heard, and I can congratulate you for that. And so I think that the developer finally realized that, you know, there's nobody in support of this project, and unless they get a state bill that gives them the right to do it, then we can't stop it.
Yeah.
I think they realize that they're spending money on a wasted effort. So let's hope that they're going to stop, but let's also hope that a bill doesn't come along allowing them to proceed without the city being able to stop it. That's that is a concern.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good news. Okay.
Yeah, I think in general, it's good news.
I do
Okay.
have a question. I do have a comment.
Okay.
Hi-
One
hi,
more
Ruth.
question.
Can
Okay.
anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Ruth.
Great presentation. I just
Thank you.
want to dovetail and say from my experience in my little experience in the political world, letters to your representatives are hugely important. If there's nothing else you can do, and I'm sure you're overloaded with information, but write letters and get all your friends, and somehow the homeowner association could get that word out. All homeowners associations all over the state could get that word out. Just bombard them, because they will read them and they want to be reelected.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely true.
Good advice, Ruth.
Forget everything else. Just get a letter written.
Or a phone. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
We'll have information posted,
Right.
have the phone numbers and add email addresses for Assemblymember Marsucci and for our Senator Ben Allen. They do need to hear from you. They want to hear from you. They miss you. Please reach out to them.
Right.
Yeah, and we'll get the information about the California Citizens for Local Control. If people would like to volunteer with Mike's group and keep that effort going, we'll have some names and some information to show the elected officials beyond individual letters, which is good. But, you know, it's nice if you have an entire city voting for a resolution. So
Yeah, and
one more quick thing. Don't forget Ted Lieu.
Yes.
He doesn't represent us directly, but he's in Congress, and
Yes.
he communicates with those other guys all the time.
okay.
I just, for everyone's information, I posted the Facebook page for the California Cities for Local Control in the chat, so anybody can grab that link if you're interested in taking a look at what we're doing.
Okay.
And I want to thank everybody for listening to my presentation, and I hope you don't walk away totally feeling horrible, but I hope you're fired up about this to help stop this from happening.
Will you come back, Mike, at the end of the meeting? and
Yeah,
take
I'll stay on the
questions?
meeting, and I'd be happy to take any other general questions that you guys have, or I'll chime in if there's something that I can do to answer any issues around anything going on around the city.
Perfect.
Will your presentation be available for others to view?
Well, I see they're recording this, so I think that if the Riviera Homeowners Association will post this, they can replay
Can we do it?
either the whole thing, or they can cut out just my segment on it, however you want to do it. But I'm also willing to talk to any other homeowners association if they're interested. So as long as they're in Torrance, I obviously want to focus on the city that, the city that pays me so well.
This was excellent. Mhm.
All right, but
Thank
appreciate
you.
everybody's
Thank you so
attention.
much.
Thank you,
You're
Mike.
welcome.
That was really amazing.
My pleasure.
Thanks
Great, it was
for
very good
this
talk.
important information and for the work that you and your group are doing to push back on the legislature. And Mike will be back at the end of the meeting for an open question and answer. So not just on this topic, but he says any topic. So if you want to know what to serve for dinner tomorrow, ask Mike, but ask him at the end of the meeting.
There you
Okay.
go.
So, and Julian, actually, I think at this point has a very short, a 30-second poll. Isn't that right, Julian, that you wanted to ask people here tonight?
Yeah, let's have a little fun with this. This is regarding the election. So I think right about now, you should be able to see a poll
Yep, it's
come
up.
up.
It's up.
And please vote according to how you plan to vote on or before November 3rd.
Not for
Please-
whom you're voting.
Please
Not-
vote. Please
How?
vote once, as you should only vote once.
Touch the one you're going to do. Is that right?
And,
Just click it.
and we'll come back later and show the results of the poll. If so,
Okay.
so stay with us. Don't go away.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. Thanks, Julian. Okay, so we'll see the results of that in a few minutes.
And we have
Okay.
close to 80 people eligible to vote in this election. So I see the
Interesting.
votes coming in now.
Okay, super. All right, so we'll have a look at the results of that toward the end of the meeting. Now we have a commercial break. So this is your time to go get something out of the fridge. We're always happy at the Riviera Homeowners to have sponsors and advertisers for our newsletters and meetings. And there's a new restaurant in our area that's sponsoring this meeting tonight.
Oh,
And it is Pacific Standard Prime Restaurant. It's located at 1810 South Pacific Coast Highway, right across from El Retiro Park. It's a modern steakhouse with a California vibe, serving seasonal and sustainable food. Their menu changes seasonally, so there are always new dishes for you to discover. Enjoy farm-to-table steak, fresh seafood, salad, delicious sides, and vegetarian options. So it sounds yummy. And we thank you, Pacific Standard Prime. And we hope that our members support our sponsors. So thanks again to the folks at our new restaurant in town. Actually, it's in Redondo, but it's across the street from us. Pacific
to them.
Standard Prime.
The
Yes,
chief
okay.
chef for Pacific Standard Prime is Christine. You all remember Christine's restaurant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the chief chef is
Oh.
Christine Brown.
That is
No
correct.
kidding. No
Yep.
kidding. That's great.
That wasn't the
Okay.
original plan, but that's how it
Yeah.
worked out. And
Wow.
actually, the owner used to be the manager of Christine, so it's keeping it in the family.
Wow. Okay. So we know that's good. It's going to be good. Okay. All right. So thanks to Pacific Standard Time. And now at this time, let's look at the upcoming elections. We're fortunate tonight to have Mr. Jeffrey Klein, the manager of civic engagement, community relations, and legislation from the LA County Registrar of Voters. A lot of people in our area and nationwide have questions about voting security and procedure, and Mr. Klein is here to answer those questions for us. So, Mr. Klein, welcome, and let us know what we can expect at the ballot booth this year.
Sure. Thanks for
There
having
it is.
me. And I'm really glad to be here. I do have a PowerPoint here. Let me go ahead and bring that up. Here. All right. So yes, I'm Jeff. I'm with the Registrar's Office. I oversee our civic engagement and community relations, plus a few other areas from the department. And so just want to talk a little bit about the election. People are already voting due to having vote by mail. But there's a lot more voting to take place and a lot more options coming up for people to cast their ballot. A little bit of sort of context or background information. In the primary, we moved to what's called the vote center model. We moved away from a polling place model. Under the polling place model, voters are assigned to one specific location and they have to vote at that location, and generally the voting is restricted to one day, which is election day. Under the vote center model, it's a much more convenient method of voting, really reflects how we lead our lives now. And so there was a period of voting. You can vote on election day if you'd like, or you could vote any number of days prior to that. And you can vote anywhere in LA County. You aren't restricted to one specific location. So if you want to vote near your work, near your home, go to a friend's house, and then everyone votes at the vote center near your friend's house. Any number of options are available. So I'm going to talk about all of those right now. So LA County is a very large county, which I think a lot of people are aware. Maybe you may not be entirely aware of how large the county is. We have over 10 million people, over 5.5 million registered voters. And that makes it the largest county in the country in terms of elections. We're the most diverse county. We actually have more registered voters than 43 states have statewide. So it's an extremely large jurisdiction, and putting on an election is a pretty Herculean effort. And so we really depend on all these partnerships, partnering with organizations such as your organization and hundreds of them out there who really help us get the word out and make the election happen. Okay, so a little bit on different voting options for the November election. We are sending vote by mail ballot to all registered voters. You do not need to request your vote by mail ballot. Hopefully everyone has already received their vote by mail ballot. If you haven't, you should get it in the next couple days. We started sending them out on October 5th. So it takes a little time to send 5.5 million pieces of mail. I don't know if you've ever sent that much mail, but it does take a little time to get through the mail system and get everything out to voters. So you should get it. If you haven't already, it should be very soon. If you want to vote by mail, that's great. You can send your ballot in now. We have had a lot of people already cast their ballot, but you can also vote in person. You can discard the vote by mail ballot and go to any of our 758 vote centers that'll be open around LA County. Those open starting on October 24th, and then you can vote in person. We will have an 11-day period of voting. So it's 10 days plus election day. So that gives us our 11 days. For returning your vote by mail ballot, we have a number of options. We have vote by mail drop boxes around LA County, and we have about 400 of them. You can also mail it back to us. It is postage paid, or you can walk it into a vote center once they're open and drop it off. This is what our vote by mail drop box looks like. Please only use the official drop box to return your vote by mail ballot. They're very colorful, they're very noticeable. You can go to lavote.net and look up a drop box near you, near any address that you type in, or a city. You can also look at your vote by mail packet. It has a few locations of a drop box near you. Make sure you sign your vote by mail ballot when you place it inside the drop box, or when you return it by mail, or however you want to return it. The signature is what we verify when we check your ballot. So there's a lot of talk out there about how safe vote by mail ballots are in terms of election integrity. That, you know, is it really safe because you're sending one to everybody, even if people haven't requested it? What makes vote by mail a very secure process is we do check the signature of every single ballot that is returned to us. So whether it's, you know, if we get 4 million ballots returned, we're checking 4 million signatures. And actually that process is a public process. You can go down to our vote by mail facility and even watch them check signatures. The vote by mail boxes, I know there's some concerns about just how secure they are physically. They're made with high grade steel. They're very secure. They're vandalism resistant. They're all bolted to the ground, or they're chained to the facility that we place them at. You can see the slot there is very narrow. So the only thing that you can really fit inside is a envelope, and the election code is actually designed in a way to help prevent tampering and help prevent anyone really, you know, doing anything to damage it. The boxes are emptied on a regular basis every 72 hours for the first 20 days of the voting period. And then the last 10 days, it is picked up every 24 hours. So the ballots are coming to our office pretty regularly. Okay, so as mentioned, we started sending vote by mail ballots out on October 5th. And you can send them drop it off at a drop box. You can mail it in. If you mail it in, it has to be postmarked by election day. We have 17 days in which to receive your ballot once you mail it in. So even if it's a little bit slow in the mail, we will still get it because we have that 17 days. Just make sure it's postmarked if you do mail it on election day or even slightly before election day, just to ensure that it will count for the election. And you can drop it off in person as well if you'd like. We have something called Where's My Ballot? It's a state program. You can go to california.ballottracks.net, or you can go to lavote.net and get to that site as well. And this is a free service that you could sign up for, and it sends you real-time notifications as your ballot makes its way through its journey to being counted. So when it's sent to you, you get a text or an email update. When it's received at our vote by mail facility, after you cast it, you'll get an update and so forth. So any step of the way, you'll always get notified. And a lot of people have signed up for this. I know a lot of people personally who've signed up for it, and they've told me how great it is.
I did. It works. It works.
Yeah, yeah.
I've already mailed in my ballot, and they've told me it's already been counted.
There you go. There you go.
Wow.
All right.
And I used a Dropbox.
All right, good.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so a little bit on vote centers. So we have 11-day vote centers and 5-day vote centers. As mentioned, the 11-day opens starting October 24th. We'll have a little over 100 of them around LA County. The remainder will open on October 30th, and that gives us 750 total locations. They're strategically placed around LA County. We have some really exciting high-profile locations this election. Unfortunately, due to the public health crisis and the pandemic, fans are not going out to the facilities that they normally would go to, and customers are not going out. So these facilities have really stepped up to be leaders in their community and offer their locations as vote centers, which we're really grateful for. So just some examples. There's a lot of other ones that have stepped up, but the Pantages Theater, Santa Anita Racetrack, Dodger Stadium, Staples Center, the Forum, Four Seasons Hotel, can go out to the spa, Westlake Village, vote, and then attend the spa if you'd like. That's really nice of them. The Beverly Hilton, a lot of other locations, SoFi Stadium. So a lot of really exciting partnerships here that we're really happy about. The hours for early voting are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and that's all the way through November 2nd. And then on election day, it'll be the traditional 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just like the drop boxes, you can also find a vote center location at lavote.net. We also sent out a booklet that listed all the locations for vote centers around LA County. That booklet we actually sent to all postal patrons. If you haven't received it yet, you should receive it soon. But we sent it to all postal patrons, so even people who aren't yet registered to vote got that booklet, and it's a great way to reach out to people who are eligible and just haven't registered yet. There's 2 pieces of mail that we've also sent out. The top graphic is your sample ballot, and that lets you know everyone that you're eligible to vote for. And then the bottom is a postcard that will have a few of the nearest vote centers to your registered address. So that'll be an additional resource that you can review to give you some voting locations. Both items will have a barcode on it. It's a quick check-in barcode. We're really exploring a lot of different ways to speed up the check-in process and really expedite things. So if you bring that with you, either one of them, we can scan it and we'll instantly find you in the check-in, the e-poll book that we use to check in voters. But if you don't bring it with you, it's okay. You can still give us your name and address and we'll look you up as well. But anything we can do to try to speed up that process is always
great. Good idea.
So thank you. For the ballot marking device, just a little bit of information about this. In the primary election, this was the first election we used our new voting device. So it is a paper ballot. It's a fully secure voting device. There's no internet connection, no network. Provides an independent and private voting experience. So it's the first system ever created where someone who is blind can vote completely independently without having to tell anyone their selections and without having to give anyone their ballot. And the reason for that is there's a ballot box actually attached to the voting device. So when you make your selections, you cast it and it goes into the ballot box that's on there. So we're really proud of this voting device. It's actually the first voting system ever designed by the public. We created this in partnership with some private design firms and firms that specialize in usability. And so we're really proud of it. It belongs to the people of LA County. It is our voting system. So we're really excited about that. It is fully and that's ideal for the individual I described who may be blind. You can also listen to your ballot in multiple languages, and we provide services in multiple languages. It translates it on the screen as well. So a lot of different options, very versatile voting device. At the picture on the bottom left, you can see the paper ballot sticking out of the tray there. This offers the voter an opportunity to review their ballot before casting, but I like to show that picture because it shows that it is a paper ballot, and the paper ballots are what we tally when we count the votes. Okay, interactive sample ballot. This we rolled out along with our ballot marking device. It was actually really popular in the primary. What this is an electronic version of the booklet that you receive. So you go onto our website, you complete your sample ballot on either your mobile device or your home computer, and then you generate this poll pass. It's a very easy process. It really walks you through it. You just select everything. And then once you get to the vote center, if you're voting in person, you get your paper ballot, you insert the paper ballot, and then you scan the poll pass and it'll pre-populate your selections. You can still make changes. You still have to confirm and print and cast your ballot, but it's really just a quick way to get your selections into the device so you don't have to sit there and touch all the selections. So I personally used this interactive sample ballot in the primary. It was really easy. Once I checked in and got my ballot, I went over to a ballot marking device and I was done in about 2 minutes, not exaggerating, because I scanned it, I checked everything, it looked good, I printed it and I cast it and I was done.
Wow.
So anything we can do to really expedite the process, we have a lot of new technology that we can really make a better voting experience and really serve voters better. Okay, a couple more slides and then I'm happy to do questions. If you do show up at a vote center, whether it's to drop off your ballot or whether it's to vote in person, we will be using social distancing and public health guidelines. Anyone who shows up will need to wear a face covering if they want to go into the vote center, so a mask or some kind of a face covering. We will have masks available if you don't bring one with you. So don't worry if you walk out of your car and you get to the front and you forgot to bring it, we'll have one with you. You won't have to go back to your car. All election workers will be wearing masks and gloves. Gloves will be available for voters if you'd like, but we're not requiring voters to wear the gloves. We will be wiping down all the voting devices and the e-poll book after every use just to make sure it's sanitized. And we will have hand sanitizer at the entrance and exit for voters to use. If a voter shows up and they do not want to wear a mask, we are encouraging everyone to wear masks, but they have to go back to their vehicle and they would do what's called curbside voting. So we don't want to deprive anyone of their right to vote, but this way we keep the vote center safe, and also we allow everyone the opportunity to vote. So our preference is everyone wear a mask, but of course we know the world we live in, that there's some people who choose not to do that. And so we're focusing on the election. So we want to just make sure everyone has an opportunity to vote. Curbside voting, just as a reminder, is available at every vote center. In the past, it's traditionally been used by voters with disabilities who have shown up, but they're unable to get out of their vehicle physically. So now we're using this also for people who don't want to wear masks. Just a little bit on the timeline here. So September 24th is when we sent out sample ballot booklets. You should have gotten yours already. If you didn't, you can go on our website and look at your interactive sample ballot, and it's just an electronic version, as I described, of that booklet. On October 5th is when we sent out the vote by mail ballots, and we also opened our drop boxes, and then early voting actually started here at our headquarters. It's been a pretty busy stream of people coming in, so that's been really nice to see. October 19th is the voter registration deadline. That's Monday. Anyone registered to vote by October 19th will be sent a vote by mail ballot. October 24th is when vote centers open. November 3rd is election day. If someone misses the registration deadline, I always like to remind everyone that we now have what we call conditional voter registration, or sometimes people call it same-day registration, and that allows someone to register to vote up to and on election day. It is a conditional ballot. We hold on to that ballot. We verify their registration before we count it. Assuming they're eligible to vote, then we go ahead and count their ballot. And that gets taken care of after the election during our auditing process. Just a few, one slide here on our social media. Please follow us in this day and age of misinformation and fake news and disinformation and all the other phrases we hear thrown around. What people trust the most is when information comes from the registrar's office. So we're an authority on running the election, and people tend to recognize that. So we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, share all of our information. If you go to our website, lavote.net, there's an actual make a plan. Part of our website is dedicated to helping voters make a plan to vote, getting prepared, letting them know their voting options, helping them decide where they're going to cast their ballot or if they're going to do it by mail and so forth. So check it out at lavote.net, a lot of great resources. And then of course you can email us if you have any questions as well. And at that time, I'll go ahead and stop this and happy to take any questions.
Here I am.
All right.
Jeff.
Pam.
Jeff. here's Pam.
Go, Pam.
Are you having any problem getting enough poll workers?
Good question. We've had a pretty huge outpouring of people who want to be election workers. So that's been really great. Anyone who's interested, I would still encourage you to apply, because one thing that sometimes happens is people want to work, but they only want to work election day, and we need multi-day commitments from individuals since it's you may not necessarily have to work the full voting period, but we need multi-day commitments. So sometimes we get a lot of people applying, and then turns out a lot of them that are interested just can't do it because of their schedule. So I actually was just talking to someone today on it. They said, we have a lot of applications, still encourage people to apply because you never know what might happen. So we may not get to you, but if you apply, that would be great.
And that's a paid gig, right, Jeff?
Yeah, it averages about $100 a day. There's a little extra money when you go to training. It's an additional $80 for training. So don't do the math for an hourly rate, because then it'll be kind of sad, because they are long days. So it's supposed to be civic duty, but it averages about $100 a day. The great thing is it's considered a stipend, so it doesn't impact anything like unemployment or any other thing that's impacted by pay. So.
I have a question, Jeff. I have heard about, obviously this doesn't apply if you put something in one of the ballot boxes, but I've heard conversation about the suggestion is that you actually do slap a first class stamp onto your ballot, especially if you're putting it in sort of towards the closer to the election day, because then it's guaranteed to actually be postmarked as opposed to not be postmarked if it doesn't have a first class stamp. Do you encourage that? Would that be something that you think would be smart, considering what we hear about what's going on at the post office?
That's not, we pay for first class mail. That is the postage paid. So I have heard that it's sort of a myth that's been floating around. It doesn't, putting a stamp on it doesn't impact, doesn't speed it up. It doesn't do anything. We do pay for that first class postage. So
it actually does get postmarked. If somebody mails it the day before, it actually will be postmarked November 2nd.
Correct.
Okay.
One thing I would just ensure, if you are waiting till election day, just to be on the safe side, I would walk it in up to the counter and just make sure that they postmarked it, because you never know, people drop it off, collection times vary, things like that. So just want to ensure people do it, because I mean, legally, even if we get it 2 days after the election, if it's doesn't have that postmark, legally we're not allowed to take it. So I would just recommend just be on the safe side. Our recommendation is actually to send it earlier rather than waiting till the last minute. But
right, yeah.
So,
Exactly.
If I'm just putting up the map here that shows our nearest location for voting.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Klein. To continue on the topic of voting, we have asked the city clerk, Rebecca Poirier, to discuss this voting centers in Torrance. But I wanted to thank you for all this information. Thank you. Track by ballot. It sounds great. I have friends who've been using that too. And the ISB with your mobile phone, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That there are so many nice ways to do this now. So thank you.
Yeah, and if I could just comment on the ballot tracking. Some people have said, oh, I missed it, I've already gotten my ballot. You could still sign up for it and you'll get future notifications, because sometimes if someone forgets to sign their envelope, for example, let's say you send it off and forget to include the signature, we'll send you a letter that lets you know that you forgot to sign it, and you'll have an opportunity to correct it. So the tracking system will even notify you that a letter is on its way to you. So even if you're sort of in the middle of the process, I would still recommend signing up for it if it's something you're interested in, just because there's other notifications you can get later on. So just wanted to leave everyone with that because it's something I've heard popping up.
That's interesting. Okay, it's never too late.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll, if you want, I'll stick around through Rebecca's presentation.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Other questions come up.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, well then we have Torrance City Clerk Rebecca Poirier on the line, right, Julian? She's going to talk with us about voting centers and locations in Torrance and nearby. And hello, Rebecca Poirier. These are basically all new locations for voting, right? These are the voting centers now, not our neighborhood voting location.
Yes, that's correct. I do have the list here. I could read it off quickly. The voting locations for Torrance, there's fewer of them, but they're larger locations. They will be spaced out for socially distancing. And Jeff did such a great presentation. I feel like I don't have a lot to say. But Riviera United Methodist Church, the Fellowship Hall is one location. George Nakano Theater, Hamilton Adult School, J.H. Hall Middle School, Katie Geisert Civic Center Library Meeting Room, Ken Miller Recreation Center, the Recreation Room, Levy Adult Center, Multipurpose Room, and North High School East Cafeteria. And I know that Redondo Beach is close to where Riviera Village borders. Their locations are Aviation Gym, South Bay Adult School Conference Room A on Inglewood Avenue, the Catalina Room on Catalina Avenue, the Portofino Hotel and Marina Pacific Ballroom, and Uber on Marine Avenue. So those are the locations closest to your HOA. And again, you can vote at any of these locations, and you will be voting on your Torrance ballot. So that's the great thing.
Thank you. Do you know, is there a vote by mail box at the Riviera Village somewhere?
Yes, the closest
ballot box.
Ballot
the
box.
right. The closest vote by mail ballot box would be actually in Redondo Beach at the Riviera Triangle, 300 Vista Del Mar, which is by where the Trader Joe's is.
Okay. Oh, that's perfect.
Yes, and the other two Redondo Beach vote by mail drop boxes are at the North Branch Library on Artesia and the Redondo Beach Library at City Hall.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
I
good.
also have Manhattan's locations if you're interested. Or Palos Verdes Estates, and Rolling Hills. All three of those have one drop box, all at their city halls.
At City Hall. Okay, that's great. Oh, so if we're looking for a vote by mail box, so the best place to go is City Hall in Torrance, because there's 4 of them within walking distance, right? So there's quite a number there, but they are spread out around the city and around the county. So I think for me, I could go to Trader Joe's and post my ballot. So that'd be great. So.
And I have had residents contact me. They've dropped their ballot at the Torrance City Hall vote by mail drop box. They've already gotten notified that their ballot was picked up and has been picked up by the county and has been received. So.
Oh, so they've been tracking it. They can.
Yes.
They've been tracking. That's great.
I use the Riviera box, and I also use the ballot tracking, and mine's been picked up and counted already. Easy as pie.
Wow, that's great.
I have a question about the boxes in the Civic Center. I went there to find them, and I could only find the one which is on Torrance Boulevard near the Torrance Human Resources Department. Yeah, because you can see it from the street. I went in the complex. I couldn't find the one at Nakano, and I couldn't find the third one either. Maybe you can tell me a little more specifically how we can find them and use them.
Okay, so the city of Torrance only has one vote by mail box, and it is the one it's not quite in front of HR. It's actually kind of between Katie Geisert Library and HR.
Yes.
The George Nakano Theater, the Ken Miller Rec Center, will be vote centers, and they will be open 5 days before Election Day.
I understand now. Got
Okay.
it. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
sorry for the confusion on that. The county
yeah.
did originally ask the city of Torrance to host 5 vote by mail boxes throughout the city, but city council decided on only the one.
Okay, right. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Is there a difference, Rebecca, between Torrance? I'm seeing things about Torrance tracking of the ballot. Is there a difference between Torrance tracking and LA County tracking?
No, all of the ballots are by LA County Registrar, so the tracking is the same. I did not sign up for the tracking. I mailed my ballot 2 weeks ago or a week ago by US Post Mail, and I actually had to sign off for my brother to drop it off because I'm still laid up with my leg. They received it in a week. I got an email stating they had received my ballot, and I did not even sign up for tracking. So I was very happy. Yeah, I was very happy with that service.
That's
Wow.
great.
That's amazing.
And we hope your leg is doing better.
Yes, right. Thank you so much, Rebecca Poirier and Jeffrey Klein. That was really great. And I guess, Julian, do you have results for us now about the voter poll? And then Pam will sign off, right?
Well, we still have over 50 people in the meeting, and we had 61 attendees voted. Result was that we had actually 100% turnout for our vote.
Yes.
So the lead choice at 44% was that folks were going to use the mail drop box.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It works.
Are you able to see the results at this point?
We are.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so you can see
Wow.
the breakdown there.
And the best part is not a single person is not voting this election. Yay!
Yay.
Yay.
Fabulous.
Good citizens here.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
everyone.
That
was fun. Thank you, Julian.
Everyone.
And
Thank you,
oh,
Mr.
yeah,
Klein.
thank you, Mr.
Right.
Klein and Ms. Poirier. Hope your leg is healing well, Rebecca. And I think the county, you're doing a tremendous job. It's just, and the materials we've got, and we should have a smooth voting. Let's hope.
We hope so.
But we now know what to do, where to go, why, and all the rest of it.
Vote early, vote early, vote early, people.
Yes.
This year's already been rough enough. We just want
Yeah.
the rest
You
of
don't want to make it worse.
it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
We're not
Thank you.
finished.
Thank you, Rebecca.
And Rebecca, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Before you go, before we sign off, am I still here?
Yes.
You are.
All right, so we said thanked everyone and Julian and everyone, Amy for helping us so much, and Judy and everyone who participated. Now, don't forget to send in your memberships. And
Yes.
also request, and I think we're repeating ourselves, that you go to the RHA website, hollywoodriviera.org, and our next newsletter will be posted there. It will be maybe next month, and enter your email address so that we can keep you informed about local activities and issues. And since I just mentioned the newsletter, we welcome advertising. And so let us know if you or someone you know would like to place an ad such as the restaurant did. There'll now be an additional question and answer period for Councilman Griffiths, but this does conclude our formal meeting. And thank you for participating. It was great to have so many people here for our first Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for helping to keep our neighborhood great. Good night.
Pam, can I just butt in one more thing? I want to just say to whoever is left, we had originally intended to talk about some of the more important propositions that were on the ballot, but as a homeowners association, we really have to be very careful to not present lopsided views of things. We all have very, very, very strong feelings about these proposals, about the propositions. especially the ones we can actually understand, as opposed to the ones we don't have any idea what they are meaning.
Yeah.
But we did not think that we could do it justice by having really fair and balanced presentations. We already saw that we were going to be very lopsided because of how we all feel about certain things. And so we have posted links to different organizations and different evaluations, and please avail yourself of that information. We're sorry we can't do it, but we really want to make sure we don't run afoul of laws and ethics and things like that and present views that are not necessarily the ones for everybody. So just wanted to put that out there. Sorry, Pam. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Amy, and good night, everyone. Stay well, wear your masks.
If you have any questions, Mike is still here. If you have any questions, Mike is still here to answer any other questions, whether it's about the airport noise monitoring or anything else.
Right, you might find an option to raise your hand by right-clicking on your picture or your name, or you could type into the chat window if there's a window. We'll leave this open for a little while longer.
Or you could just wave. Just wave. While you're thinking of questions, let me just throw out a couple of things for people to know. As far as some of our public works projects that have been going on, you may have noticed that the southern end of Hawthorne Boulevard from PCH to our southern border was repaved recently. The western portion of Walteria, all the city residential streets are being repaved, new curbs, gutters, and so forth. That project is in process right now. It's looking really, really good. The bids are finally out for the redo of the PCH Hawthorne intersection. We have been waiting for that for 10 years. I can't believe how long this takes. And so we finally now have a bid out, and we're waiting for the bids to come back in, and hopefully we'll be awarding a contract to have that intersection completely rebuilt to really help improve the flow of traffic there. Also some good news, but it's still many, many years away. The other bad intersection on PCH is at Crenshaw. We did allocate some money through some of the tax money that's available to us to begin the process of planning that intersection upgrade. But knowing how long it took for PCH and Hawthorne, I think we're 5+ years away from seeing any improvement at PCH and Crenshaw. But I will do everything in my power to push that fast and furious. Other couple of developments are going on is the former Toys R Us is now going to become a Hobby Lobby, expected to open right around the end of the year, beginning of next year. Right across from where TGI Fridays used to be in the Sky Park area is going to be a Randy's Donuts and a Jersey Mike's. So you can get your sandwiches and donuts fixed over there.
So hungry here in Torrance, are we?
Yeah, right. The former Costco building on Sky Park is in the process of being rebuilt and will become an Amazon distribution center. So that'll be interesting. Your Amazon deliveries will make it even faster. And the former PV Bowl property is being redeveloped. There'll be an Aldi market. That'll be the first project open on that property. They're expecting that to be open by the end of the year, hopefully. And also then expected early next year will be a Chick-fil-A restaurant drive-through and a bank, all on that PV Bowl property. As someone mentioned, the City Council, not by a unanimous vote, voted to end the airport noise monitoring system contract. I was one of those who opposed that, and I believe that it's such an important issue to the people in our city that we should have it, yet we can still have it and look at other options, and that was my preference, but I was outvoted on that one, unfortunately, and so we're in the position of right now being in limbo on our not having any airport noise monitoring system, although we've been promised that it will go to public outreach and a potential RFP for a new noise monitoring system, but it'll slog its way through airport commission and probably make it back to City Council sometime next year. But if you're hearing all kinds of noise problems, don't hesitate
Yes.
to let your feelings be known, especially
Yes.
to those who voted to eliminate this
Who
program.
should we let our feelings be known to, Mike? Just to the city council?
The city council, certainly. You know, I mean, I'm not going to help you because I did everything I could. I voted against
Yeah, I just don't
terminating
know
it,
where
but
to do it.
but yeah, send those to the city council. I think the people who voted to eliminate it need to know that you're upset if you're upset.
Okay.
And if they don't, then they'll just think they made a good decision and move on. So
I have a question.
sure, go ahead.
I also think writing letters to the newspaper would be a very important thing to do as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Question.
Go ahead, Constance, go ahead.
Yes, how do we get a recording of this evening's event here? I'd like to, my daughter wasn't able to attend and she would like to hear what went on.
I'll try to
I can't
answer.
answer that. Yeah, Julian will get that.
I'll try to answer that. We'll make every effort to put that on our next mail that goes out. It'll be on the website itself. Give us a week or two to engineer that prospect. If anyone has experience with that, for example, editing video, would be welcome for you to contact me or us on that. Otherwise, I'll have to figure it out. Thanks, Constance, for asking that question.
Thank you. I'm not sure I got the answer I wanted, but
Stay posted. Just check the website every now and then. We have landscape photos that go on. We have our newsletter that goes on. We have our blog postings. We try to keep up. Check out the community links that we have on one of the pages. There's a good place for resources in the community.
and I'll be sending in my dues.
Thank you.
Yay.
Hey, Mike, I'm also going to say that Dale is asking, and I don't know honestly, Dale, if this is something Mike can answer or it needs to go to Governor Newsom. Why are fitness centers put in the same category as gyms? Guidelines there, we're ready to comply with restrictions. Small businesses are suffering. We know that's true. Mike, you
Yeah,
wanna take-
I'll be happy to take it. There's not much I can do about it. The decisions about what businesses and things and so forth are able to open or not is a decision made by the state and the county. We do not, according to them, have the capabilities to make those kind of decisions ourselves. So we're primarily because we don't have our own health department, which would be prohibitively expensive for us to do. And even those cities that do have one have their own, and really there's only two, Pasadena and Long Beach, they still have to follow pretty much what the county and the state are mandating. As you may have heard me say many, many times over and over on our council meetings, how they make these decisions on who can open and who can't makes no sense to me. I completely agree that there are so many businesses that can and should be open, and let the people who are smart enough know whether or not they're comfortable to go into these businesses or not. And all these businesses are capable of doing proper social distancing, disinfection, and it just boggles my mind how a Costco or a Sam's Club or some of these big box stores can be open with hundreds, if not thousands of people packed in there indoors, and that's okay. And having a little jewelry store or a gym with a few people is not. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I can't, except for to jump up and down and scream, there's nothing I can do about it. Or the city.
That's something.
So you let your county officials know. Janice Hahn is our supervisor. Let her know. Send her an email and say you need to see our businesses get open, and then obviously it comes from the governor. So please share how you feel. We've already our city has made letters to the state and county in conjunction with other mayors, sent letters off. We actually banded together with beach cities, mayors, and asked them to give special consideration to just the beach cities to give us access to the next level down on the openings for the COVID, because our numbers are good. And we're paying for the sins of the county, and the county is having lots of problems keeping their numbers where they need to be. But we, as the beach cities, have had no trouble doing that. And so, unfortunately, they will not allow us to break out and be treated separately from the county. So I half jokingly suggested we should form our own Beach Cities County and move away from LA County.
Wow.
I'm not sure how far that will go, but
I like that.
I'd
But
love to be your Beach City supervisor.
There you go.
But what I am
Sure
going
about
to say
that.
is the theme of everything, whether it's about the noise monitoring, whether it's about the zoning and having 4 or 8 houses built on a 7,000 foot square lot next door to you, whether it is about reopening, whatever it is, we have to speak up. We have power that we do not know we have. The bottom line is Mike likes being reelected, and Mike is the one who needs to hear whatever the questions are, whatever the conversations. He wants to know, because that way he can judge what is important to the people of Torrance. The same goes whether it is an assembly member, a state senator, the governor, or quite frankly, the president of the United States of America. That is what our responsibility and right is, to be able to keep our mouths open and tell people what we want. They work for us, not we don't work for them. And so if we don't do anything, when we turn around and say, gee, who let that get built? That's big, or that's tall, or that's ugly. We let that happen if we don't open our mouths. So please, 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 we always want to encourage you, whether it's through a newspaper or an email to Mike or to the state representatives or the governor or our senators. Please, take your civic duty seriously, not just voting, although God knows that's important, but everything. Stay engaged, and it will really presumably make our city and our community and our state and our country look more like what we want it to look like. So that's my spiel for it. Can I just say, there's a question that Dennis is also asking, what is happening to the Target on Sepulveda?
They're just doing a remodel. It's nothing significant. I think they had an outdoor garden center. I think they're going to enclose that and make that part of their store, and maybe more storage area. I'm really not sure exactly, but it's really just a remodel, interior remodel, and that modification to the garden center is my understanding. It's nothing, no major development there.
Mike, with a lot of stores closing, what's the forecast on retail tax income, and what's the impact on the city?
Well, clearly, sales tax is one of the greatest sources of revenue for the city, and by our retail businesses that are closing or having significantly reduced business, it is dramatically affecting our city budget. And we've had to make some pretty significant cuts here recently in the last few months, since June, to get our budget within a reasonable range that we think we will be able to get through this with. But obviously, the longer this COVID-19 situation lasts and our businesses and stores are closed or open at reduced levels, and people aren't shopping like they used to and buying pants, then I think we're.
Yeah, how do you get that in there?
Could you stand up for us on that subject?
We have a mixed crowd here, so we'll have to hold up on that. But unfortunately, sales tax is really a key problem for us. We do get a smaller percentage of sales tax on online business, hoping that your online retailers are collecting sales tax. That does not come to us directly. It's given to us on some sort of formula. So it's not the same as if you were buying it local. Our mall is reopened at 25% capacity, and obviously the mall is, but the stores within it may not all be. That's up to the individual stores, but if you're comfortable to go out, the mall is practicing diligent social distancing. Masks are required to enter. Feel free to come out and spend those dollars that you've been holding on to for all these last 6 months. And
I was there last weekend, and most of the stores were open. Only a few were closed.
Wow.
Mostly were
Good.
So let's get the cash registers ringing and help our city out so that we can get back to providing some of the services that unfortunately we've had to cut back on. And our biggest effect has really been on the number of staff that we're able to accommodate. We've got a significant large hiring freeze on, and that will impact us as we start opening up new things, and it will affect the quality of service from the city, unfortunately. Does that answer your question?
There's a question about trick or treating. Is the city putting on any kind of event? Like I saw San Pedro is going to have a drive-by.
Or restricting.
Yeah, we're not doing any, the normal city event that's sponsored at Wilson Park is not happening this year. Actually, I thought I'd heard that there was a governor just passed a COVID-related statement on Halloween that eliminated even drive-by trick-or-treating. So if that's the case, we will have to abide by that. And for whatever it's worth, Torrance has not been a huge enforcement city of all these rules. We try to trust that people are using their best judgment, and businesses and our residents are being smart in how they handle things. And we try not to be very rough in the way we enforce things. Other cities I know have imposed very strict enforcement of mask wearing and things like that, and citations. We've chosen not to do that. We do cite businesses that aren't operating according to code, but you know, we also have to look a little bit the other way too. Is that many of these businesses are really suffering, and I just feel so badly for being a former business owner myself. If I had invested my life savings and my life effort to build a business and then have this close it, I'd be upset too, and I'd be doing everything I could to try to keep it open, and even if that meant potentially breaking the law. But I can't advocate for breaking the law, but we're trying to be a little balanced in our approach towards businesses so that we don't inflict more punishment on them than they've already experienced. Yeah, Amy?
Like there's a new, I don't know what to call it, program called Safe in the South Bay that I know the beach cities are very involved with, along with many other areas in the South Bay. Chambers of Commerce are involved with it. El Segundo is part of it. I did not see Torrance's name in it. I'm wondering if this is something that was a decision made as to why Torrance did not want to participate in that. Is that something you were familiar with?
I am not familiar with it. We were not asked, to my knowledge, not at least as a city council. So I'm not familiar with that program. And if you want to send me information about it, if it's something that we should be a part of, I'd be happy to look at it.
I'm surprised not to see Torrance's name there, so I will. But basically, for people who are concerned about going into stores, the concept is that it's a restaurant, it's a retail outlet, whatever it is, that is adhering to guidelines, and those guidelines are posted, and it should be a sense of surety and a sense of sort of safety that would allow you to go into a place that has this posted, whether it's a sticker or a poster or whatever it is, that they are following county and state guidelines. So I will send that to you and try to follow up with that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
So this is not a Tuesday night when Mike has to stay up really late. We're going to keep him till 9 o'clock, and which is 5 minutes from now. So last call for questions. We have some brave citizens who are still on.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed taking any questions you've got, and I love sharing about what's going on in our city, and I tried to touch on a lot of stuff here, but as you are well aware, there is a lot of stuff going on, and one of the things I also want to mention that we're hoping that will happen sooner rather than later is that we are expecting to resume our city council meetings at the city council chambers, although maybe without public in the very near future. Our dais has been rebuilt to allow us to be socially distanced from each other on the council. Wow. And with the implementation of having staff in the council chambers socially distanced from each other, we believe that we can conduct safely our city council meetings from there. And I'm really anxious to see that happen. We need to start moving back towards some better level of normalcy. I made a suggestion, although it has not been approved, but a suggestion that maybe we open up potentially either the West Annex Commission Room or even the Armstrong Theater for the public to come and be socially distanced and be able to watch the meeting and have a podium for them to come up and speak under orals, getting us back into a closer vision to what we had in the past, as opposed to everything on the telephone. So that's something that
sounds like a great idea, Mike. It really
yeah,
does.
so I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm pushing for that to happen. As you can tell, our meetings have been hijacked over the phone by people who don't live in our city, and probably calling in from all parts of the country just to do their thing. And it's really affected our ability to hear from you guys, the public, and I really miss that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's tough. I don't know what the answer is there.
yeah, well, we're going to take it one little step at a time. And as everyone knows, I'm hoping that we have a new city manager, Aram Chaparian. Even though I was the lone vote against him as our city manager, it wasn't because I don't like him or think he's capable. I just felt like we as a city should have taken the opportunity that only happens once every 37 years to look around and make sure that we have the absolute best. And we did not do that. And that's why I voted no. But I know we'll be in great hands with Aram. I've worked with him. Actually, I met with him at length yesterday for my initial one-on-one with him since he's taken over the reins from our former city manager, Leroy Jackson. And I feel very good about my ability to work with him.
And Pam and I already met with him. We had an HOA president's meeting, and it was, he is very aware and attentive and wants to make this really successful. So I think that he will be terrific for whatever went into or not. He's been here a long time. He certainly knows where some of the bodies are buried. Leroy has the rest of the questions and answers. We're going to help him make sure to figure out. And he heard a lot of questions. He was like, "Wait, where are the softball questions?" No, not from us. So we'll see. But we're hoping for the best.
Two last questions from the participants here. Repurposing the Butcher Hill property for maybe open air wilderness or park. And also, would Armstrong Theater maybe reopen with some limited arts venues?
Nice.
Yeah, I can't touch the Armstrong question just because we just are subject to the county and the state for that. We are slowly adding additional capabilities. Actually, they just started a childcare program within the cultural arts complex for employers, including the city, using some of the facilities of the Cultural Arts Center until we can use those for what they were originally intended. And so we're looking for ways that we can repurpose and reuse and use these facilities like they were intended, but it's a slow process guided by the state and the county. As for the Butcher Hill, if somebody's got a big checkbook that would like to write a check to pay the owners off for the property that they hold, they want to get paid for their property and they want to see a return on their investment. And so it would be lovely to see that return to a natural state. I would support that, but it's an expensive proposition to get that land out of the hands of the current owners. And somebody's got to pay them off in order for that to happen. And I don't know that they are willing to be generous enough to deed that property to the city. That would be lovely, but I don't see that happening.
So Dennis,
Joan and I talked to Palos Verdes Land Conservancy, and unfortunately, they don't have the amount of money necessary to purchase that either.
Yeah, I don't know what the money amount is, but it would be a pretty big sum. And as you well know, it's a pretty undevelopable property, and a nature facility would, I think, as Judy and Amy, we've talked about that before. I'd love to see it return to a natural state and left alone.
So if anyone has a checkbook, come on down.
So there you go.
Pam?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
I think Jean Adelsman is still with us.
I see her on there's my screen. Yeah. Hi, Jean.
I wondered if she wanted to say anything about the Armstrong Theater and about what's going on now with the performances.
Okay, did I unmute?
Yes, you did. Yes. You're good. We can hear you.
Okay, that question wasn't from me.
No, but I'm sending one to you.
Okay, so I'm not sure what you're wanting me to ask, Pam. I mean, I understand because in fact, we met with Aram this morning for a whole other issue, but involving the foundation. And we understand Chris is in almost daily contact with Sean. So we understand this is out of the city's hands. There are so many other things going on. So I'm not quite sure what you want me to ask, Mike. And I realize you're trying to give me an opening, and I'm so sorry to not be able to take it.
Well, you might want to let people know that there are performances that are virtual.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted me to talk about the Armstrong theaters being open.
They're not at the theater, but yes.
Okay, so thank you, Pam. I appreciate that.
Friends.
Any of you who are not already getting our blasts, and if you are, then anything we do, you will already know about. But if we are not shut in terms of not putting on programs, it's just that we're putting on virtual programs. And I'll do a shout out for Torrance Theater Company, which is also doing virtual programs and is having a play this Sunday. But the fact of the matter is, take down this web address. If you're not already on our email blast, go to torrancearts, all one word, .org, and you'll see what all we're doing, and you can ask to be on a blast. And if you can't figure out how to do that, email me, jeanadelsman@hotmail.com, and I will take care of it for you.
Thank you, Jean.
So thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's
And the
after 9 o'clock.
home plays are terrific, and we have art. Art still exists.
Yes.
But let me just say, we are hanging on by our little scrawny fingernails. And many of you will have gotten, but not everybody will have gotten a year-end, you know how nonprofits put out letters at the end of the year saying, how would you like to donate to us? And if you got one of our letters, please answer it. And if you didn't get a letter, we take money very easily. You can go to our website and there's a donate. And it's amazing how you will become our new best friend.
And Dale, you had a question. What was your complete question? I didn't see all of it.
I see it. It's about Wilson Park having a drive-in movie night. And yes, I did hear that. That is true. I'm sorry, when?
I think it's October 30th.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the exact details of it. I'm sure it's on our city website, but the state and the county do allow drive-in movie theater operations with people social distancing in households within their cars, as long as they stay within their cars. And I think the Rhodium has actually been doing drive-in movies now for quite some time. So
Wow.
It's been very well received. People are actually going back to drive-in movies. If you want to see a movie and you're tired of watching Netflix, go to the Rhodium or come to our Wilson Park movie night. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Dale, I think it's the Nightmare Before Christmas on October 30th.
Oh, the nightmare before Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
All right, well, let's say our goodbyes, and I'm going to turn
Okay.
us off in just a minute here.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you, Julian.
And Mike for speaking. And
My pleasure. Thank you all for listening to me.
thank you,
That was
residents,
wonderful.
for being here with us.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Pam.
See you soon. Thank you all.
Amy.
Okay.
Good night, all.
everybody. Night.
Good night, all.
We'll see if we can do this again.
Yeah.
Oh.